Tatiana turned off the car and leaned back on the seat. Tired. The shift today is such that you wouldn't wish it on your enemy. Twice passengers ran away without paying. Once it got stuck near the garages, and the culmination was a punctured tire. Although there was plenty of work, she barely earned any money. At least not as much as she expected. And that meant that after visiting her son, she would have to go back to work. Tanya could not afford to earn less than she set for herself. Otherwise, there is no point in this job. She had become a taxi driver not so long ago, just half a year ago. But she was already pretty good at understanding passengers, and it seemed like she was managing her job well. A year ago, my son fell ill. He fell ill suddenly, without any precursors, and it seemed like doctors were comforting, saying that the disease is of course severe, but treatable. Only, Matvey was allergic to almost half of the necessary medications. Because there is no way to treat him, everything could only get worse. 3 months later, Tanya's husband abandoned her and their sick son, just with the words, "I can't and don't want to live like this." Tanya wasn't even surprised. Her husband had always shied away from any problems, especially from such a big one. In the last 6 months, Matveyka has spent more time in the hospital than at home. If it wasn't for her father, who moved in with them straight away, Tanya wouldn't even know what to do. It was necessary to work, to earn, because the drugs that Matvey needed were not just given out. Matvey was a late child, just like Tatiana herself. Father lived in the village, had a farm, but as soon as tragedy struck, he moved to the city to his daughter. No, but he brought up the conversation about taking little Matvey to the country. Tan, I'm sure it'll be better for him there. Fresh healing air. What's he doing in the city? Not only is there a lack of oxygen, but also always within 4 walls. Tanya just sighed. Dad, the nearest doctor is 15 kilometers away. I can't take such a risk. Father sighed, shaking his head sadly. He was not only sure that his grandson would be better off there, but also missed the village a lot. Tanya abruptly opened her eyes. She was completely falling apart. She needed to hurry, buy her son something tasty and go to the hospital. She went there every day for 2 hours. His father visited him in the morning, and she in the evening. The woman beeped her alarm and darted to the shop. Yesterday Matvey said he wanted oranges. The doctor, of course, reminded her of the allergy, but Matvey pleaded so much. Tanya decided to only buy the ripest one, and something useful. She quickly grabbed everything she wanted and went to the checkout. There were few people, but the queue was stuck. You could hear the cashiers complaining. "What's this? How many times do we have to count? You are short, got it?" Tanya peeked over the woman's shoulder who was standing in front of her. At the checkout was a grandmother, old, similar to a dandelion, because pure white strands of hair were sticking out from under the scarf. Judging by everything, Grandma didn't have enough money to pay for bread. 3 people standing in front of Tatiana deliberately turned away. Tanya resolutely moved forward. "How much is needed?" "I'll pay." The cashier looked at her discontentedly. She was just about to vent the negativity that had accumulated in her during the day, and she was so upset. The grandmother showered her with thanks, then quickly waddled toward the door, while Tanya began to unpack her shopping. Lord, they always take the cheapest and still can't even fan their fingers. Tanya smirked. She understood perfectly well that if she says just one word, the cashier will explode. That's all she's waiting for. Tanya wasn't going to make her life easier and ruin her mood. She left the store and headed for her car. Wait, please. Tanya turned around. An old lady was hurrying to her, the very one to whom she had just paid for bread. Thank you very much again. Don't think badly of me. I've become old, left the house and didn't take my wallet. I hoped that I would have enough money, but I didn't. Oh, it's nothing. Not so much money. Tanya was about to go. But her grandmother tightly gripped her hand. There's a lot of sadness in your eyes. But good people shouldn't crumble. Tanya gave a sad smile. Well, it depends not on us, but on us. Just on us. You know, you always need to think. If it doesn't work out, you need to do it differently. If you can't jump over the puddle, you can go around it. If you can't reach the apple with your hand, you need to change the method. You will definitely be fine. That's it. See, don't be afraid to change everything. Everything that doesn't happen, happens by the will from above. Therefore, everything is for the best. Don't be afraid of anything. Everything will be fine with you, and with those around you. You're kind. The main thing is not to fear change. Grandma disappeared so quickly that Tanya even rubbed her eyes. Was she there at all? Shaking her head, she headed to the car. You need to hurry up. The hospital will open for visits in 10 minutes, and if she's not there right away, the son will get worried. Matvey wasn't alone. He was talking to a man in a white coat. Tanya knew all the doctors, all the nurses, and could precisely say that the doctor is not local, and not a newbie, because nobody planned to quit. The man understood from Matvey's eyes who she was, and quickly stood up. Hello. Tatiana Anatolievna. Matvey and I were just discussing what wonderful weather it is outside. Don't you want to take a walk? Tanya was at a loss. Take a walk? Yes. Well, can Matthew do it? Once he can. This will even be useful for him, and we will talk with you. Tanya herself didn't understand how she agreed to all this, and to the walk, and to have Matvey taken out to the street in a chair. For some reason, only Grandma's words were ringing in my head. There's nothing to be afraid of. Everything will be fine. They sat down on the bench. Tatiana Anatolievna, I understand that you're confused right now. Please let me explain everything to you. The thing is, I've been working on studying the disease that your son has for several years. Actually, I'm working with a few more people, but this is my baby. A year ago I discovered, as it turned out, a very interesting treatment method. Which, how to explain to you? It does everything the opposite. The drug passed the research. It's safe. I'm assembling a team, if I may say so. A team of children who... In general, I'll speak plainly. The drug should undergo the final test now. And I'd like to invite you to take part. I won't demand an immediate answer from you. Think it over. Weigh everything. Consult with your treating doctor. Tanya was sitting, her head bowed. She kept recalling over and over the words of her grandmother from the store. Then the words of their doctor about their situation getting worse and worse. I agree. Of course, we need to talk to Matvey. He is after all 11, but I'm sure he will agree too. Oleg Sergeyevich got down to business right away. Matveyko had all his tests done by the morning. The boy seemed to light up, as if he believed in the impending relief. Tanya's father was initially cautious about Oleg Sergeyevich. I searched for information about him for a long time, but finally agreed that it's worth a try. Matvey loses nothing. The medicine will either help or not. Same for you, Tanya? She nodded. Oleg Sergeyevich was talking to her about side effects. Said it was possible, but only in extreme cases. But Tanya didn't want her dad to know too much and worry. It's enough that she's going crazy. Matvey felt better after just 2 weeks. It was decided that he will undergo treatment right here. Oleg Sergeyevich came every other day. For some reason, Tanya was extremely embarrassed when she found him in the room. Tatiana Anatolievna. She shuddered. Oh, I was happy too soon that Oleg Sergeyevich was not here. It turns out he was in the head's office. Hello, Oleg Sergeyevich. Hello. You can check the time. Well, tell me, are we good? She smiled. I try not to think about anything until the course is over, but that's a shame. I believe we can already celebrate a small victory. Today Matvey weighed himself. We have not only internal improvement, but also 2 kilos of new weight. I've been looking through his history. He hasn't been gaining, but even losing for the last 6 months, so the win is significant. Yes, but celebrate? Exactly. So, I want to invite you to a restaurant. Let's talk and relax. By the way, you need to unwind. Look, you have dark circles under your eyes. Tanya is totally confused. If he invited her as a man invites a woman, then a conversation about circles is inappropriate. If as a doctor, why a restaurant? And then Oleg Sergeyevich laughed. Tatiana, forgive me. Please. I completely forgot what it's like to communicate with a beautiful woman and not turn on the doctor. Well, retirement is just around the corner. Tanya involuntarily smiled back. What are you talking about? What pension? You're just a professional. Didn't want to talk about illnesses. The evening was so amazing. After dinner, Oleg suggested, Tanya, shall we take a walk? I haven't wandered like this, just down the street, in 1,000 years. Let's do it. I only see the city from the car window. Do you travel a lot? Tanya laughed. I'm always on the move. I work in a taxi. Oleg looked at her in surprise. Can't believe it. Always thought that taxi drivers... Yeah, those smoky, rude, hefty taxi drivers. Tanya completely cheered up. You have some wrong ideas. Let me tell you a secret. By education, I am a chemical production technologist. I have a degree, although I didn't work in my field for too long. They wandered for a very long time. Time flew by unnoticed, and when the sky began to lighten, she asked unsurprisingly, God, how much time? It's almost morning. 2 weeks later, Matvey was allowed to go home. He was already walking on his own, was a little pale, but incomparable to what he was before. Tatiana knew. Soon, Oleg Sergeyevich will stop appearing in their hospital. The course of treatment is almost over. The next one is in half a year, and then it can be confidently said that Matvey is healthy. Tanya was sad. Of course, she was overjoyed that her son was getting better, but she stopped the car near the store. So, Matvey, let's go buy a cake and something else. And let's have a festive dinner tonight. He carefully looked at his mother. No one will be invited, she blushed. Of course, the son noticed that there's something between her and the doctor. But Tanya didn't even think of aspiring for more than just regular city strolls. Is it bad for us to be alone? We are fine, of course. Well, you know better. Tanya was walking around the store, lost in her thoughts. When they approached the cashier, a real scandal was unfolding there. Some old man miscalculated the money, and now the cashier was angrily making a refund on the cottage cheese milk. And she did not smile. Quickly approached the cashier. Charge everything. I'll add some money. Grandfather looked at her in surprise, and Tanya's head was filled with the words, Don't be afraid to change something. They hadn't even left the store when Tatiana pulled out her phone. Matvey barely smiled. Mom somehow cheered up, became happier. Good day, Oleg Sergeyevich. You know, we have a festive dinner at home today. After all, it's an occasion. If you feel like it, we would like... Tanya, what's the address? I was really scared you wouldn't call. They got into the car. Tatiana sat for a while for no reason. Matvey carefully asked, Mom, will he come? Tanya smiled. She felt like smiling all the time, even when it was inappropriate. Yes, and soon. He said these strange words. Family dinner should be cooked together. Mom? What? Why are you standing? Want to meet him like this? Tatiana looked into the mirror and gasped in horror. She's forgotten about makeup and beauty in general. She started the car quickly. Hang in there, Matvey. We need to be home as quickly as possible. Matvey smiled pleasantly. How nice to see Mom like this. Of course, it's a pity that Tanya's plan to tidy herself up didn't work out right away. When they arrived, Oleg's car was already parked at the entrance. He looked at her in admiration. You seem 10 years younger. Your eyes are sparkling." She was embarrassed. You would say that too. The men took on the task of preparing the festive dinner. Dad Oleg and Matvey secluded themselves in the kitchen, telling her to rest and pull herself together, which she actually did. By the time Matvey came to call her, Tanya was ready. "Mom, you're so beautiful." Then Oleg burst into the room. "And where is our hostess?" He fell silent and stared at Tatiana. Matvey quietly left. They stood and looked at each other for a long time.
"Then prayers,"
he said. "Probably it's supposed to date for a while, but I don't want to do everything as it should
"Necessary. Tanya."
Maybe, just maybe, you and me. In short, marry me."
The Tanya almost fell.
Then she heard a rustle at the door, walked over and opened it. Matvey and Dad nearly fell, looking at her awkwardly. Mom agree. If you like the story, please support me with a thumbs up button. One click, but it's very important to me. Thank you.